Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard. At DNP, we bring your dream, purpose, and passion to life in print. Whether your manuscript is ready to go or just an idea waiting to unfold, we're here to guide you. With expert editing, stunning graphics, and the knowledge to make your book a reality, we'll help you share it with the world. From book festivals to signings, this is your moment. Let's turn your dream, purpose, and passion into print. Connect with us today and make your dream a reality.
And welcome to today's episode of the 4Ps podcast. You know, you have probably never have seen a podcast with this many little squares on it. It kind of reminds me of the old Hollywood squares back in the day. And there are three people on here. I see two just smiling big, and I see one just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You need to go back and watch the Hollywood Squares. Great game show. But you have to watch the old Hollywood Squares, not the new Hollywood Squares. The old Hollywood Squares, very, very risque. As I got older, I didn't realize how risque it actually was. But today we are here with the cast, some of the cast of the movie Flag. Now, if you have not heard about this movie before, it is part of the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. And this is it's a great foundation. I want to know a little bit more about it. I want you to know a little bit more about it. But I also want you to know about the movie Flag. We have Jake Getman. We have Sam Humphrey, who's been on our show before, a dear friend of mine. We have David Kono, who I talked to him before the podcast episode, and now it's just like really cool that I absolutely get to know this individual because of the connection, especially of my childhood and youth. And then we have Alexander McDaniel. Great individuals here, and I really appreciate you all being on the program today talking about the movie Flag. I am going to start with Jake. Jake, I know that you and your family have a big role in this movie, and one of the principal reasons why this movie is even on. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration and why this actually tell us a little bit of, let's start back. Let's tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll go to the movie later on. Jake, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I started acting many years ago, back when I was six-ish, maybe a little bit earlier, but yeah, I've been doing it for a minute now, and I was kind of just fell into it, and all these years later, I'm still here, and I'm still doing what I do, so I'm really happy, and I love doing what I do. So that's that's kind of the reason why we're here, but overall, the way that this came to fruition is because we did the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge last year, and we started off. We had a different production called First Base. We did it, and this was our second entry. And it's kind of interesting how everything changes from the initial concept to what we actually end up shooting. Because if I look at this year and last year, it changes so much from the initial idea of what we're gonna do to what actually ends up getting shot, and it's fun, you know. It's a challenge, but it's always fun. Like I know Alexander for a long time. We've grown up together, so it's you bring people that you love and you feel comfortable around, and it really works that way because you feel safe and it's an environment that you can rely on people. So challenge is a great opportunity to kind of push your limits and see exactly what you can do. This year's entry was flagged, and it was so great. I mean, honestly, last year's entry was good, but I know that we took everything to a whole nother level this year. We brought in everybody that we could. We were over there asking for favors from everybody, and thank God they said yes, because this year was truly amazing. So yeah, I mean, I'm really blessed to have all these people on the project and
Have all these people on the
have these
project.
people that are willing to contribute and bring this finished product to your screens.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And now I want to go to. I do know that you play you play the role of the hacker in this movie. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So my mom, she wrote the script,
My
so
mom,
she
she wrote the
developed all the
script, so
characters and did the thing. So yeah, I ended up with that role. I mean, I could have played, Gwen's character, but I don't think it would have fit too well. But yeah.
So you're not a veteran.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Very nice. Now you have Sam Humphrey that is a part of your movie. Sam, I interviewed him on my show probably about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. You have a very extensive acting list. You came from New Zealand, Australia. Now you're here in the United States of America. Sam, tell us about your role in this movie.
Yeah, so my role in this film, as I've said in the short, is I'm just an assistant, but I let them all into the facility so they can have their moment of nostalgia and be able to reconnect with their past, where they used to come and have, great bonding connection times with each other. And because it's mystery and suspense, we don't fully know about my character, and we don't fully know, whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy. However, towards the end, we do see whether or not I am leaning more towards being a bad character. So we just don't know in the short. But yeah, my role was basically to let them in and have fun.
I'm going to say this, Sam. You did look at the end of this film, at the end of the short, you looked kind of shady. Okay, and as a former, as a military, I am a vet. I don't want to say a former vet. I'm a current vet. Whenever we saw a look like that from anybody, that gives vets a reason to be a little cautious. Let's put it that way. You did look mighty shady in that show.
Well, I did have to prove myself when the computer called me low stature and an unclassified. So
yes,
I had to double down.
You are pretty much not. That is not the case in that. But no way. David Kono, you have been acting for a mighty long time. You have excellent resume, and you come from a definitely strong acting pedigree. David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my first acting job was 10 years old, and I got the job basically through an uncle by marriage who happened to be best friends with John Wayne and James Arness. And that afforded me the opportunity to while I was visiting from Hawaii, visiting my aunt and uncle in beautiful San Fernando Valley, I got to go to the set of Gunsmoke and met the cast and overheard a conversation that my uncle had with some of the cast members saying that they were looking for a little Oriental kid, and my uncle said that that his nephew was one, which was me. But jumping ahead, my uncle is was, because he's passed away now, was Forrest Tucker, and a lot of people remember him from F Troop. He was on I Love Lucy. He was on tons of military films, cowboys, Broadway, and a bunch of stuff. And I transitioned that to my next full movie was actually turned out to be Cary Grant's last film, a movie that took place in Tokyo, Japan, called Walk Don't Run, and I played a Japanese street thief. Then I didn't do. Then I got an opportunity. I went on Broadway and ended up doing The King and I, which was a lot of fun, and that kind of came up a little later on to go and do King and I again with Yul Brynner on the traveling show. But my second and third movies turned out to be really big, with The Unknown, fairly unknown actor. And I did stunt work, and it turned out to be Bruce Lee's first two films, Big Boss and Fist of Fury. So that's kind of started my career in the acting business. It was never something I'd intended to do, and it kind of gravitated to being a principal on The Last Samurai, Kill Bill 1 and 2. Did a couple of the Pirate of the Caribbean films. Did 3 of the Fast and Furious films. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to work with young actors, and that's really amazing. I heard about this challenge because I sit on SAG's disability committee, and I was so happy when I got the call from Arlene and Jake about being a part of this great cause, and I don't think there's enough time and energy to do this like full time for any of us. But hey, when you get the opportunity, you got to do it. So that's my thing.
Absolutely. And finally, Alexander McDaniel. All right. The guy who, and the worst thing about it, I know that, I know that, the way we're doing this podcast, it's just the boxes set up to where they set up. But for me to have no hair sitting next to someone with all of that beautiful hair and it's side by side, it is actual torture. To see this and to know that at one point in my life, I did have hair. And so I'm just like, the contrast to me, I see it. And I know that I'm just going to go ahead and call the audience and make sure they see it as well. Alexander, thank you for being on the program. Tell us about your role and what you do in the program, in the movie.
Yeah, so my role was director, and I got to that role because 2 days beforehand, the main director of the project, he had to leave the project due to some injuries. And so I was originally the gaffer, but Arlene called me and was like, this is an emergency. This is last minute. Can you be promoted to be director, to work on this project? And I was like, all right, I can do that. And, I've been a director since I was 10 years old. So I've done almost 24 projects over the years, directing. At a certain point you lose count, but I was just ready to just hop on it and review the script, made my shot list, made everything I needed, and then we had an in-person rehearsal the next day of me finding out I was going to be director, and just establishing a relationship with the crew, working with my DP, and just getting a plan laid out. And then we shot for 2 days, and there was a very, very quick 3-4 days post-production where I worked with an editor to edit the film. I also did the VFX myself. And then we got sound design, and yeah, and now we're here with a finished film.
At 17 years old, I am calling your age out a little bit. At 17 years old, I was literally not directing films at 17, barely making it to school on time. Let's put it this way. And you are directing films. That is amazing. And you've been doing it for 7 years. And the quality of the film flagged. I mean, the quality, the acting obviously is phenomenal. The delivery and all of that is due to very solid sound direction. Your future in film, directing, even acting, whatever, I do see, if that's your quality at 17, the sky is the absolute limit for you. There is no doubt in my mind. And that is astounding. I want to go back to something that David said about being on the disabilities committee of SAG. And I'm speaking. I do. When we watch films nowadays, people with disabilities, they are usually on there, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about their disability. Okay, so you're on the film, and we're going to talk about what is wrong. If you're deaf, we're going to talk. Your character we're going to focus on that. and we don't focus on the everyday aspects of someone with a disability. In this film, what I noticed about this film, yes, there are people with disabilities in this film, okay? But what I do see about this film is these are people. We're not focused on this. We're focused on what is going on, right? We're focused on the fact that, and again, I am still wondering what is going to happen. And I'm still saying that I'm just going to put it out there. And I know I'm probably dead wrong because that's the way films are. But Sam is the villain in this show. I already know that that's the case. Okay. There's no doubt about it. No doubt in my mind, unless there's a twist. But what I love about this show is the fact that we are focused on the everyday life. People with disabilities, they have to pay bills. They fall in love. They get mad. They get all these other things. And that's what this is focused on. This is focused on, yes, we have a problem. We still don't know what that problem is yet because the film doesn't go into that detail. But we know that there's some type of problem. And these are just regular individuals. So I love how this happens. And Dave, I know that you have been a part of the Disabilities Committee for a long time. Tell us about what things you do to advocate better representation or more representation in Hollywood.
Well, part of the problem is there's a lot of productions that are out there that features people with disabilities that aren't disabled. That to me is a problem because there are a lot of great actors out there that aren't given the opportunity to play those roles. Before I got onto this committee, I didn't realize that there's a certain percentage, and I can't remember what the number, of people that need to be on productions that have a disability of some kind. And it's not always a physical disability. You know, people automatically think of something physical, and it's not always physical. For myself, I'm hard of hearing. I'm mobility challenged. I have to use at least a walker. I mean, that's just some of the basic things. I have fractures throughout my body. And so those kinds of things you really can't see, like in a setting like this, you can't see. And the funny thing about this project is we had so many people that were hard of hearing. And there's a scene where, people are complaining about their hearing aids. What's funny about it is there's some things where, somebody's saying what, and then three other people are saying what, because we can't hear. But I think that in the industry, we need to take those kinds of things into consideration. And I noticed that really within the past 4 or 5 years that people are making accommodations for people, whether they need to be helped to move from place to place or helped with their lines. I mean, I also go through memory loss, and on this production, I was eternally grateful that people helped me because I had a hard time with lines and remembering those things. Those are the kind of things we need to let the public know, and also to get more jobs, more opportunities with people. The word disability is kind of a negative thing, and we want to accentuate the positive things that we provide to the industry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, and I love what you brought up about this. And I do know that, again, like one thing I love about this film, and more than likely other films that are part of this, of the Easterseals, challenge, is the fact that it's not about the disability. It's about the circumstance. It's about the situation. And that is a great thing. Sam, I know that you have been acting for a while. You've been acting for a long time. You've had some major roles. And so with you in this film, how was your approach to this film? How did you approach this project? I know this project is much different than other projects that you've dealt with before. How was your approach to this?
So it's interesting with something as a short film, especially when you haven't been really given heaps of information about a project and about your character, it's a little hard to create like a full backstory or character development for a character. So it's kind of, you get the lines, and sometimes, people are like, you have to feel connected to the character. You have to feel, what are things in your life that connect you to it. But when you get something so small with very few lines, because it is a short, you don't necessarily have that connection. So for me on this one, it was purely based out of like my acting memory muscles of just like, from being a human being and going through the motions of what we go through in everyday life, and then associating that to what the circumstances of the situation that we're going through. How would I react? What would I feel like? And as our amazing director gave me direction in, building the world and building the situation in my mind and being like, this is what's happening. This is how like angry or frustrated you are, or like giving me scenarios, for example, like where you let them in. This is a secure facility. It's a military building, and you could go to jail. You could go to prison. Your life can be ruined just by the simple act of trying to do your friend a favor by letting them into this building, and then suddenly it all goes wrong. So it's like going through the motions and being like, crap, this one split decision of doing a favor for my friend, and now suddenly my whole life could be over. Would I be completely angry, pissed off? Would I be slightly frustrated? So building that world in your head, and most of it was built like in the process of being on set and acting, because like I said, you don't have that time with the script, you don't have that time with the character to actually build a firm background or backstory for it. So you just have to work with it on set and just mold it as it, comes and as it feels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
May I
then
say something?
Jake. Yes, I was going to ask you a question, but say something first.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say because Sam, is very important to us. Especially my mom and us, because we also sat on the committee, as well as David for some time, and so we're familiar with all these struggles, and so it was important to us when we were writing the script that we didn't, play into this notion that. Sim's a little person. We didn't want to have him running around with a mallet trying to fucking smash someone. We want to really play into the fact that he's a person. He's not a little person. He's not defined as a little person. He gets to be who he wants to be in this thing, and whether that's the villain or the hero, it's beyond his disability that he gets to be that person. So it was big for us that we played into that fact, and instead of the typical stereotype of the little person type thing, because it's just not the case. If you see a little person on the street, you don't treat them any differently. So, at least I hope you don't, So we didn't want to do that either. So,
And I greatly appreciate that, because I definitely felt like the trope of being a little person was not, like, connected to it. It's not,
yeah.
As I always say, like, when I do a role as a little person, yes, I am a little person. I can't separate that from who I am, because that is, part of my identity. But I am a human being who happens to be little playing a role. Whether that role is written as being a little person, or whether it's separated and I am a little person playing a dad, a cop, a detective, a villain. And that's like one of my goals as part of doing acting and this challenge, to show people that no matter our abilities or our differences, in my case being short stature, I can play the whole range of human emotions as a human being, because that's what I am, that's what we all are. We're not defined just by our quote unquote disability. And as David was saying, I think there's a negative connotation, stereotype on that word, and that's what we're working towards. And I actually decided to coin a different term, which I think is probably more appropriate. Instead of disability, it's diffability. So replace the S with an F, because we all have abilities, they're just different. So they're not disabilities, they're different abilities. So that's the term that I would like to start coining, but we'll see what happens.
I like that. I love that term. Now, Jake, I'm going to ask you. First of all, I'm going to say this. We don't know if he's a villain or a hero. If you are not finished writing the full short, the full film, Jake, and I know you and your family are helping write this movie. You have to do me a favor and make sure that he stays in the bad character category. Okay, he's got to be the villain because that's what I think.
No redemption.
I'm telling you, I think that's what it is. Thank you very much. But Jake, and you kind of answered this question a little bit when you and your family were writing this movie. I know that you were obviously you did a lot of research on bringing veterans together. The last thing you want to do is bring a lot of veterans together because we just run our mouth and talk about sea stories and have a blast, say a lot of bad words, and drink a lot of beer. But clearly you did a lot of research on, yeah, we do, you know that. And so, but clearly you did a lot of research. You and your family did a lot of research on veterans, especially older veterans, getting together and talking and things like that. What inspired you to have the veterans and then the flagged type? What was the motivation behind all of that?
Great question. So it was just me and my mom. And she's very passionate about bringing disability to the screen and showing it in a way that breaks the mold and the stereotype and stigma associated with that word. And so when she was looking into it, we know a lot of veterans, like all these people we've worked with, and we know from just being around in the industry. BJ, he used to be my teacher at Second City Improv, great guy. So I've come across him many times after that. And so he was an Air Force medic, suffered some hearing loss, and actually 7 of our people behind and in front of the camera were wearing hearing aids. But yeah, so when it came to showing the veterans, it was because we happened to know a lot of them, and it worked in such a way that we wanted this to be an ensemble. We wanted to show this, and we think veterans put so much on the line, and and I hold a spot in my my heart for every veteran, and I think it was big to show this. And Tony, who played Sergeant Tony Russo, so he's actually a good friend of mine. I worked with him on a horror movie, Little Dead Riding Hood, many years ago, and unfortunately he was unhoused at the time of filming this. He recently just got a place, so I'm very happy for him. But yeah, so that's a classic example of our veterans just not getting the help that they deserve, and so it was big that we showed this in this light because Gwen is also a good friend of BJ, and I've met her before. And so everyone on this project I knew and we came across in some way. So bringing them together, I think, was just the best thing we could have done. And like you said, they're all veterans. They get together. They have that bond. So just it really came across on the screen, and it looks beautiful. And Alexander tied it together in a bow, and just it made it look great. So I'm really glad that we did this. And my mom, is so passionate about it. She wrote the script herself, and with some help from the other writers. And it was just all such a great labor of love. And I do have to give a big shout out to everybody on our crew. We had post sound from Joe Schultz at Waterman Sound. He was amazing. He was there till 1:30 in the morning with us. Really, truly amazing guy, and so grateful for his help. Our editor, Joshua Steele, killed it. He was up for like 2 days straight with Alexander. So those guys did an amazing job and really put the time in. And we had an amazing sound guy for on location, Milo. He was fantastic. And everybody really put the work in. Our cinematographer Udit, everyone just really had this passion, and it came through with the work that they came with, or the work that came out of this. So I couldn't have been any happier with the finished product. It was just really amazing to see it come to like fruition with all of the time spent from the initial concept, and like I said earlier, it changes so much from the initial concept to what we actually shot. And so it's amazing to see it finished and on YouTube. So check it out.
And then, Alexander, once again, even as I hear all the other actors talk about it, and I, as a viewer, and plus the magnitude of what this film is about and what it represents and what it's going to do for Easterseals, you had an enormous responsibility. You really did. And you did an outstanding job. You really did. You absolutely did an outstanding job.
Thank you.
The other thing that I'm going to ask you now, I mean, I just made the comment, so now I'm going to ask you, did you learn anything new to apply to, directing in the future by working with people with all different abilities? And all different aspects. Is there anything that you learned at how to apply that to your next directing project?
That's a good question. To first start off, it didn't feel like some out of left field project. Just because there were like disabilities on the set. Like it actually just felt like a normal crew set. And like that's what also I love so much about the story, like what we were talking about earlier. That instead of just focusing on the disabilities of each and every person and let them be characters. And so as I was focusing on the story, the characters, and just working with everybody on the set that had a disability of some kind, it just felt like a normal set to me because I was actually having connections. I was having relationships. I was actually just talking to individuals, and not really focusing much on like I said, their disability or just something that was diagnosed to them. But I will say one thing I learned is that a big struggle we had on set was the lighting change because our set from the time range we had, when the sun goes down, it changes the entire lighting because the walls are like windows basically to the outside. So that was one of the things we had to like fix on the day for in the script where we had to make a time change and kind of split the script in half from one day and one night. It was originally going to be one time period. To the nighttime, I believe, right, Jake?
Yeah, it was going to be the nighttime, but we had some issues with the lighting, so there was some last minute adjustments. Alexander killed it. Him and Udit talked together and came to that conclusion. Really worked.
Yeah, thank you. And another thing, so like I learned that about like just really picking out exactly the right schedule for the day, the right time range to shoot at. And just other ones like just normal directing things like I got to work with a crew of 10 for this, and that is pretty big from like all the films I've done in the past. So just learning how to manage that crew while also manage the actors and just preparation. You learn bits and pieces here and there, and like you always build upon them to the next project and the next project, and then after a few projects, you have this like mountain of directing things that you've learned, but you just like pick little things every single project and just add it to the pile, and then it becomes big.
That is fantastic. And again, like I said, I am absolutely impressed that a director of a great film is only 17 years old. And I say only, I know you've done a lot for a 17-year-old, but I will say that definitely, it is absolutely impressive and great answer on that. Now with this film challenge, what I would like to know is what happens with Flagged now? What goes on with this film once it goes in front? And I know it's not like I mean, what happens with the film process and what happens now at Easterseals?
Well, for now, we're actually in the middle of the awareness campaign. So we are bringing awareness and posting all the posters around town so that we can bring more awareness and spread the word of the Disability Film Challenge so that they can get the recognition and that they deserve, because it's a great challenge and we need a lot of people to see it, and we need views, and we need to break the mold and the people that see disability as a negative word, because it's not at the end of the day, you know? So yeah, I think for now, what comes next, I don't know. That's up to my mom. She'll figure it out, I'm sure. But for now, we're very happy with where it stands and the finished product. So I'm excited to see this go places. I'm sure we're going to submit it to festivals outside of the film challenge as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see it go places.
Absolutely. And as a person with a very much of a type A personality, I always want to know what happens next. You need to film this. We need to know. I need to bring it right to the conclusion. Okay. Right to the conclusion. I want to know what happens with my vets over there. You know, they all got flagged for something. You got a marijuana use. You got all these other things that they were doing. You know, I want to see what happens to these guys, you know. I'm going to finish this off by asking what happens next. I know, Sam, you and I talk often. You have some things going on. I'm going to give you the opportunity right now to talk about, like, now after Flag, anything that you've got going on down the pipeline, anything that we're going to see.
Yeah, so after Flag, I have a few other projects that are coming up. I am supposed to be heading to Minnesota to film for about a week and a half. I have a project that I'm in development with at the moment, is actually based on the topic that we're talking about. It's a romance drama where I highlight someone who's an unconventional romantic lead to be the non-typical romantic lead that Hollywood won't show, to emphasize that people with disabilities or, you know, that are different can break that mold that Hollywood has set up. Other than that, I'm also writing. I have a few different writing pieces out, and I'm currently writing my autobiography, and we'll see what the future holds. And I'm also hoping to break into the speaking tour area. So if anyone wants to hit me up for motivational speaking, do that.
That is my man right there. Do that. You know, I will say this: you are a motivation. We've talked about that before. You are definitely a motivation. David, I'm going to say something to you because I am now going to talk like the 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid. I remember sitting down when you brought up F Troop. I remember sitting down with my grandmother. Evelyn is her name. And she would sit in a chair that literally my grandmother's been dead for quite some time, but she left me her favorite chair. It's actually upstairs from where I'm sitting right now. She used to sit in that chair. I used to sit on the floor with my brother and we would watch F Troop. It was a daily thing. Now, by the time F Troop was out, by the time I was watching it, it was in syndication, but my grandmother and my grandfather loved that show. And when you brought that up, you actually brought back memories. And I'm literally going to probably go, well, maybe not today because I got other things to do, but I know that sometime this weekend, I'm going to pull up a couple episodes and stream some F Troop again. And it's all because of the conversation. It's great that you brought that up. And I want to thank your family for bringing memories to my family that are so great. The thing I want to ask is you have such a long storied career acting. You've acted with like the greats. The absolute greats. These are legends. Like it doesn't matter what era you're in, you're going to know these people. Is there anything coming down the pipe for you?
Well, actually, quite a few things. I'm in co-production with another feature film coming up. I have 2 feature films in post-production. I just released a feature in December. We can't talk too much about it because it's a whole negotiating thing going on. But I also do charity work, and think about my thing is with kids. I run a nonprofit, and we dress up as pirates, and we go out and do a lot of things with a lot of the hospitals. We set up games. We have action because we have people that are trained with swords. So we do a whole action scene at quite a few hospitals throughout the country. And we're now going to do a second pirate film just with our crew, just having fun at these events, and it's kind of as a documentary. So we're leaning towards that direction, and it's such a huge, self-fulfilling feeling of being able to give to others, and put smiles on people's faces. So combination films and nonprofit work is my direction right now.
That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And we will, and I will make sure that the nonprofit, if you can send us and provide us some links, I would love to have the nonprofits. I want people watching this show to definitely get involved in those nonprofits. Alexander, you are going to have a career that is going to be outstanding. And there is a lot of stuff that's coming your way. I can just feel it. And just remember me, okay? I'm the one that yeah, there you go. Just remember us, all right? Because, so tell us, do you have anything going down the pipe for you?
Yes. So right now, this past week, I've been animating an animated war film in Unreal Engine. So I'm working on that. That's a short film that I have for an NAACP film competition. Another film I'm in post-production right now with the composer. It's a 35-ish minute film with Richard Lawson as one of the stars, and that I'm planning on releasing somewhere towards the end of April to May. I've been working on that film for a while. I wrote the script when I was 16, and yeah, that's about to come out. And I'm about to graduate high school. I'm also doing enrollment with Valley Valley College. So, as I graduate high school, I'm going to get 6 associate's degrees in cinematic arts production from the amount of classes I've taken. And I'm going to go to USC writing for screen and television in the fall.
Wow. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough, man. You're just not doing enough.
Man,
there's more that needs to be done. I expected a lot more out of you than just what you just told me. All right. I really did. I don't understand why you're not doing enough. But I will say this to everybody. The movie Flagged, it is a short film. I watched it a couple times, actually, because I'm actually looking for other details. There's got to be something I'm missing in there. I know, because, I mean, you got some stuff in there for sure. Great movie. I want everybody who watches this podcast, not only to watch the podcast, but I want you to watch the film. Again, like I said, this is for a phenomenal cause. And again, the link will be in the podcast notes. It will be on my YouTube channel. Go to their YouTube channel, watch it as many times, share it with as many people as you can. If you're going, I know we're close to Easter. This is actually going to come up right on Easter Sunday. When you go to church, I want you to tell everybody, hey, listen, after you will not be able to get Easter eggs or eat Easter dinner until you watch this show Flagged. It's 5 minutes, 43 seconds. Watch it. You're good to go. And, but just keep on watching it and watching it and watching it. Jake, Sam, David, and Alexander, thank you so much for being on the program. I absolutely love it. This will not be the last time none of you guys are on the program. I know I'm going to see you guys again. It was a pleasure meeting all of you, and I will see you again next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
The battle doesn't always end when the service does. For many veterans, the transition to civilian life is a journey of resilience, struggle, and hope. In Stories of Veterans, from military to civilian life, real men and women share their personal journeys, overcoming challenges, finding purpose, and creating new beginnings. Honor their stories, understand their journey. Stories of Veterans from military to civilian life, available now at Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, and anywhere you buy books.